This will be a short video to explore the anatomy of a leaf. This is also going to be useful to review some of the key concepts about plant structure, specifically the types of tissues you can find in a plant. Now remember that with regards to tissue categories in a plant, there are going to be three. One category is going to be dermal tissue, which can include an epidermis. There's also going to be ground tissues, which are going to be tissues that have metabolic functions or storage or some kind of internal protection. Examples of ground tissues will be the parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma, and the last category of tissues is going to be the vascular tissues. Those are going to be primarily responsible with transporting materials from one part of the plant to another. I'm sorry, I'm having a technical difficulty here, but I'll get it fixed in a moment. Okay, so let's focus on a cross-section of a leaf to begin exploring the anatomy of such plant structure. The leaf is going to be considered an organ because it is comprised of at least 2 or more kinds of tissues. The cutaway we're seeing in this illustration is going to be like a classic anatomy for a eudicot leaf. And what we're going to see is that at the top of the leaf, there is going to be an upper epidermis. The bottom part of the leaf, there's also going to be a lower epidermis. Those two forms of epidermis are going to be there, as you can imagine, for protecting the leaf. The epidermis of a leaf will often secrete a waxy cuticle that will prevent the leaf from drying out, will keep precious water inside of the internal tissues of the leaf. But notice also that on the epidermis, there are going to be openings known as stoma. Stoma actually means, the literal translation for stoma is going to be mouth. Like if you can think, for example, about your mouth, it's going to be surrounded by 2 structures you call lips. Well, when you look at the stoma of a plant, these openings, what we see is not lips. I mean, sometimes they are illustrated, they look like the lips of a mouth, but they're actually called guard cells. Guard cells are going to be specialized epidermal cells. And what guard cells can do is that they can swell up with water and close, or they can actually open. So what is exactly the stoma? The stoma is the opening. It's not a cell, it's not part of a tissue. The stoma is just the opening. The stoma will be to the plant as your nostrils are to you. See, the stoma allows for air to go in and air to go out, just like when you and I breathe in and out through our nostrils. So the nostrils are the equivalent to the stoma. It's just the openings. And the guard cells will be the ones that are opening or closing depending on the needs of the plant. There are going to be 2 types of mesophyll. Mesophyll, by definition, is photosynthetic tissue. You may recall this name, mesophyll, from when you studied photosynthesis back in Bio 211. Mesophyll will be characterized as a type of ground tissue because in this case, it's going to be a specialized form of parenchyma. Parenchyma are tissues with metabolic functions, and here the metabolic function is going to be that of making sugar by the process of photosynthesis. Because there are 2 basic shapes to the mesophyll. Towards the upper side of the leaf, sun will be shining in this direction from the top to the bottom. You will find elongated cells. They look like columns. They look like trunks of a tree, and that's why we call this the Palisade Mesophyll. A palisade fence will be one that you can make by putting a trunk next to another trunk, or a stem and a stem next to one another. That's a palisade fence. And here we see cells that are arranged vertically, and for that reason, they're called the Palisade Mesophyll. Down here, close to the lower epidermis of the leaf, there's going to be the spongy mesophyll. And so let's take a look at another cross-section of the same structures. Here you see the upper epidermis. Here's going to be the lower epidermis. Here you see this opening where air goes in and out. That's the stoma. And the stoma will be regulated by two guard cells, which are a special form of epidermis tissue. Here, close to the upper epidermis, is the Palisade Mesophyll with the typical columnar type of a cell shape. And down here, close to the lower epidermis, we see the spongy mesophyll, where cells are more irregular in terms of shape. And you're also going to notice that there are spaces. These are indeed air spaces, where air that came in through the guard cells will be moving and delivering to all of these photosynthetic cells the carbon dioxide that is needed for photosynthesis. Remember also that plants during photosynthesis make a byproduct, which is oxygen. Oxygen cannot accumulate in the mesophyll because it will prevent further photosynthetic reactions. So that oxygen has to be expelled. It mixes with the air that came in through the stoma and eventually goes out through the stoma, allowed by the guard cells to go out. And so this spongy mesophyll and the air spaces between allow for air circulation inside of the leaf. In addition to the structures of the epidermis and the structures of the mesophyll, cells of the mesophyll, a leaf is also going to have veins. And these veins are going to be the way in which the vascular tissues are going to be arranged. You can call this a vascular bundle, but when it comes to the leaf, the specific name for the vascular bundles is going to be veins. And they can be recognized because the xylem and the phloem are going to be surrounded by a cylindrical arrangement of cells known as the bundle sheath cells. So let's take a look at this arrangement of the vascular vessels and the bundle sheath cells. The bundle sheath cells will be providing protection, preventing these vessel elements of the xylem and the sieve tube elements of the phloem from breaking. If these structures broke, then circulation of materials would not be possible. Notice also, in addition to the bundle sheath cells, that the veins of a leaf are also going to be receiving additional structural support by sclerenchyma fibers. And these sclerenchyma fibers are usually going to be cells that will be providing additional protection, preventing the breakage of one of these veins. And let me see if there's another detail that I may be missing with regards to the leaf. I think that pretty much covers everything that I wanted you to know. And we are going to see examples of the stomata in upcoming labs. We're going to be having an opportunity to see the conditions that can lead to the opening of the stomata or the closing of the stomata.